Hello, students. Welcome to the e learning session of FMS. So, we will start with the next topic of our first chapter, some basic concepts of chemistry. So, let's discuss about limiting reagent and how this limiting reagent help us to determine the amount of product formed during a chemical reaction. So, first, we come to the definition of limiting reagent that when any reaction is carried out, if the reactants are not present in the amounts as required by a balanced chemical reaction, then that reactant is termed as limiting reagent. In such situations, one reactant is in excess over the other. The reactant which is present in lesser, that's what is important, lesser amount gets consumed after some time, and after that no further reaction takes place whatever be the amount of other reactant present. Hence the reactant which could get consumed or limits the amount of product formed in a reaction is known as limiting reagent. So to understand it better, let's see an example. All of we know that hydrogen reacts with oxygen to give us water. And this is how the balance equation is. That is 2 moles of hydrogen will react with 1 mole of oxygen. This is a standard term. For every 2 moles of hydrogen, we will require 1 mole of oxygen. But if we have been provided with 10 moles of hydrogen and 2 moles of oxygen, and we want to find out the amount of water formed in this reaction, then it becomes very important for us to know the limiting reagent in this reaction. So we can use our standard relationship, that is for 2 moles of hydrogen, we require 1 moles of oxygen. So for 10 moles of hydrogen, we will require 5 moles of oxygen, right? But we have been provided only with 2 moles of oxygen. So our requirement is 5 moles, but we have been given 2 moles. So the quantity that we require is more, and we have been provided with the less quantity of oxygen. So in technical terms, oxygen is less as compared to hydrogen, and that is why oxygen becomes our limiting reagent. And with the help of limiting reagent, we can calculate the amount of product formed. And again, to calculate that, we will use our standard relationship that 1 mole of oxygen gives us 2 moles of water. So 1 mole of oxygen gives us 2 moles of water in standard reaction. Similarly, if we are having 2 moles of oxygen, then we will be getting 4 moles of water. So this is how the term limiting reagent help us to find out the amount of product formed during a chemical reaction. So limiting reagent is the reactant that is used up first in the chemical reaction. Always the limiting reagent will be the first one which is going to be consumed or which is going to be used up completely during a chemical reaction. And what is excess reagent? The reagent that is present in greater quantity or is left even out after the completion of the reaction. So let us try to understand this with an example. So here we can read the question as dinitrogen and dihydrogen react with each other to produce ammonia according to the following equation. The equation is given to us. N2 in gaseous state react with H2 in gaseous state to give us two molecules of NH3, that is ammonia. Our question over here is calculate the mass of ammonia produced if 2000 grams of dinitrogen reacts with 1000 grams of dihydrogen. Okay. So before proceeding to the solution, first we will analyze what is given to us. So we have been provided with a chemical equation. First of all, we need to balance this chemical reaction. If it is balanced, then it is well and good. But if it is not balanced, the first thing that we will do is balance this chemical equation. So we are having N2 that is reacting with H2 to give us NH3. So to balance this equation, we'll multiply 3 over here and 2 over here. That is N2 reacts with 3 moles of H2 to give us 2 moles of NH3, and state of all these are gases. Now let us process the information from the reaction. So from the reaction, what we can say is that 1 mole of N2 plus, that means react with 3 moles of H2 to give us 2 moles of NH3. So this is the information that we are getting from the equation. That is 1 mole of nitrogen reacts with 3 moles of hydrogen to give us 2 moles of NH3, ammonia. Now coming to the question, we need to calculate the mass of ammonia produced when 2000 grams. So we have been provided the weight of nitrogen in terms of grams, and we are not given with the terms in moles. So what we can do is that we can convert this mole into grams. So the weight of 1 mole of nitrogen, as we know that atomic weight, or precisely we can say gram atomic weight of nitrogen is equals to 14 gram. But since we are having N2, its gram atomic weight will be equals to 28 grams, and this will be also known as its gram molecular because N2 is a molecule. Similarly, the gram molecular mass of hydrogen H2 will be 2 grams, and gram molecular mass of NH3 ammonia, that will be equals to nitrogen 14 plus 3 hydrogens 3, which will give us 17 grams. So here we can use this term. So instead of 1 mole, we are writing as 28 grams of N2 react with 1 mole of hydrogen weighs 2 gram. We are having 3 moles. So we can write down as 6 grams of hydrogen to give us, now 1 mole of NH3, it weighs 17 grams. We are having 2 moles. So the total weight will be 34 grams of NH3. Now this relationship is our standard information. This information we are going to use and solve the question. So let us move to the terms that we have been provided. So weight of nitrogen is 2000 grams and weight of hydrogen is equals to 1000 grams. Now let's see the relationship between nitrogen and hydrogen. So for 28 grams of nitrogen, we require 6 grams of hydrogen. That is our standard information. For every 28 grams of nitrogen to react completely, we will require 6 grams of hydrogen or vice versa. So let's use this term. 28 grams of nitrogen is equals to 6 grams of hydrogen. So out of these two, we take any one. So let's say 2000 gram of nitrogen will require X grams of hydrogen. Then we can find out X by cross multiplying. Therefore, X is equals to 6 into 2000 divided by 28 grams of hydrogen. So the value of X is equals to 428.6 grams of hydrogen. Now this is our requirement for 2000 gram of nitrogens. But actually we are having more than that what we require. We are required only 428.6 grams of hydrogen, but we have been provided with 1000 grams of hydrogen. Since hydrogen is in excess, then definitely nitrogen is less than required, and here nitrogen will be our limiting reagent, or you can say limiting factor, because only two species are involved. One is in excess, definitely the other one will be limiting reagent. Then to calculate the amount of product, we will use the relationship between limiting reagent and our product. So let's see the relationship between the limiting reagent and our product. So according to the standard information, we can have 28 grams of nitrogens will give us 34 grams of ammonia. That is the standard value. Every 28 grams of nitrogen can react and give us 34 grams of NH3, that is ammonia. So we can write down this information. 28 grams of N2 will give us 34 grams of NH3. How many grams of nitrogen we are having? 2000. So we can write down 2000 grams of N2 is equals to X grams of NH3. Then just cross multiply the terms. X is equals to 34 into 2000 divided by 28 grams of NH3. We can solve this to get our answer. Where X will be equals to 2428.5 grams of NH3. So this is the amount of ammonia produced when 2000 gram of dinitrogen reacts with 1000 gram of dihydrogen. And please remember, here hydrogen was in excess, so this may be left unreacted during the reaction, because only 428.6 grams of hydrogen is used, or you can say required. Rest is unused and can be obtained at the end of the reaction. Hope you all understood. The next topic. So the next term that is very important in this chapter is concentrations in solution. Before moving into the term concentrations in solution, let us understand what is concentration. So concentration basically means amount of solute present in a solution, or you can say solvent. So we just want to know the amount of solute present in a given amount of solution, or you can say solvent, and this very simple statement represents concentration. But the value of concentration in solutions can be represented by different terms, or you can say different units. Here we are going to learn 4 different ways in which concentration of a solution can be expressed. First one is mass percentage, second mole fraction, third molarity, and fourth molality. Other than these, we have another term, that is normality, formality, percentage, mass by mass, percentage, mass by volume, percentage, volume by volume, then ppm, that is parts per million. So there are various units to express the concentration of a solution. But first, we'll try to understand these 4 basic units in which concentration of a solution can be expressed. So coming to the first one, that is mass percentage. So mass percent of a compound is given by the formula percentage mass of element is equals to mass of element divided by total mass of compound into 100. So formula for this is, if let's say I want to find out percentage mass of X element, then the formula is mass of X present divided by total mass of the compound in which X is present into 100. Let's take an example. Let's say I have a compound calcium carbonate, CaCO3. This is 1 mole of calcium carbonate. I want to find out the percentage of calcium present in 1 mole of calcium carbonate. Now 1 mole of calcium carbonate means it is 100 grams of calcium carbonate. In this, there is only 1 calcium atom, and I want to find out percentage mass of calcium. That will be equals to mass of calcium present in this compound. So atomic weight of calcium is 40 grams. So 40 grams divided by total mass of calcium carbonate, 100 grams. Into 100. So we are remaining with 40%. So in a molecule of calcium carbonate, calcium is present as 40% by the mass. Okay. So this mass percentage is used only for binary solutions. When we say binary solution, that means those solutions which have 1 solute and 1 solvent. It is also used for calculation of very small quantities. Now the next term is mole fraction. What do we mean by mole fraction? It is actually the ratio of number of moles of a particular component to a total number of moles of solution. So again, coming to the definition, it is a ratio of number of moles of a particular component to the total number of moles of the solution. Let's say if we try to understand this with an example, I have A and B as two components. Let's say A is our solute and B is our solvent. So we took a container in which we were having our solvent B. Now in this solvent B, I added my solute A. Now this resulted in a solution. Now let's say the amount of solute that we have added is 1 mole. And the solvent that was inside the beaker was 10 moles. Now the number of moles of A can be represented as Na and number of moles of B can be represented as Nb. So in this solution, we want to know the mole fraction of A with respect to overall solution. So this mole fraction of A, mole fraction for any term is denoted by this capital X, and since we are talking about mole fraction of A, it will be equals to number of moles of A present in this solution divided by total number of moles present in the solution. So number of moles of A divided by total number of moles. Total number of moles means moles of A and moles of B. So I can write down Na plus Nb. Similarly, number of moles or mole fraction of B can be written as Nb upon Na plus Nb. That will be equals to 1 divided by 11, since this is 10 plus 1, and here it will be 10 divided by 11. Please remember, whenever you total the number of mole fractions, that is Xa plus Xp, it will be always equals to 1. The sum total of all the mole fractions present in the solution is always equals to 1. If there are more than 2 species, let's say there is another component C also, and its number of moles is represented as Nc. So just we need to add here Nc, that is total number of moles. Here also Nc, and then we can calculate the mole fraction of C also in the formula. Xc is equals to number of moles of C divided by total number of moles, which is written as Na plus Nb plus Nc. Now, this mole fraction is one of the very important units that is used because the values of mole fraction are independent of temperature. It does not changes with respect to temperature, as whatever the terms we are using, only weight of the substance is involved. Volume is not involved over here. Suppose we are telling number of moles of A. So moles of A, that is Na, is given as weight of A divided by molar mass of A. So again, we are having just mass term. Similarly, number of moles of B is equals to weight of B divided by molar mass of B. So nowhere in the equation we are using volume, and volume is the unit which changes with temperature. Here we are not involved with volume. That means this mole fraction is independent of temperature. So the next term is molarity. It is the most widely used unit and denoted by capital M. It is defined as the number of moles of solute in 1 liter of solution. Therefore, molarity can be represented as moles of solute per unit volume of solution, or you can say moles of solute divided by volume of solution in liters. Now, one very important thing is that molarity of solution depends upon temperature, because volume of the solution depends upon temperature. For example, if we have a solution which is having volume 1 liter and I have dissolved it 1 mole of NaOH in this. So here NaOH is our solute and water is our solvent. So the overall concentration becomes 1 mole per liter. But now if I heat it, if I raise the temperature, let's say this was done at 25 or 20 degrees Celsius, but if I raise the temperature to 90 degrees Celsius or even 100 degrees Celsius, what we will observe is that some of the water molecules will evaporate, which will result in the decrease in volume of water. So let's say now we are having 1 mole of NaOH and we are accepting that 100 ml of water have been evaporated. So we are left with 0.9 liters of water. Now in this case, the concentration of the solution will be high. Or in simple language, we can say the concentration of the solution has changed because of the rise in temperature. So as we have seen in mole fraction, there isn't any effect of the rise or decrease in temperature, while in case of molarity, there is an effect of temperature. That is, this unit of concentration is affected by temperature. Now, this molarity can also be represented as M is equals to number of moles of solute divided by volume of solution in liters. Now, all of us know that number of moles is equals to weight upon molar mass. That is, N is equals to W upon molar mass. So we can use this unit where M, so I have replaced this number of moles from weight into molecular masses into 1 upon V, volume, but this volume should be in liters. Suppose if the volume is in ml, the same equation can be written as molarity is equals to weight into 1000 divided by molar mass into volume in ml. So this equation is useful for us to calculate molarity of a solution. Now the next unit of concentration is molality. Here the word that is important, please remember, because it gets confused with molarity. So what is molality? It is defined as the number of moles of solute present in 1 kg of solvent and is denoted by small m. So by definition, molality is equals to number of moles of solute divided by mass of solvent in kg. Now we can replace this number of moles of solute by weight of solute in grams in 2000 divided by molecular mass of solute into weight, or you can say mass of solvent in grams. So what is the basic difference between molarity and molality? In molarity, we are using volume of solution, while in molality, we are using mass of solvent. So one important difference that arises is that volume can be changed with respect to temperature. Hence, molarity is affected by change in temperature, but in molality, we are using only mass. All the terms here, it is weight in grams. Here also weight of solvent in grams. Here molecular mass, which is also represented in grams. So no term with respect to volume. That means molality is unaffected by temperature. So the molality of solution does not change with temperature because it does not involve any term with respect to volume. So we have two main differences between molality and molarity. These are two most commonly used units of concentration. So molarity, it is denoted by capital M. It is defined as the number of moles of solute upon volume of solution in liters, while molality, it is defined as number of moles of solute present in 1 kg of solvent, and it is denoted by small m. But molarity is not preferred, mostly because it is affected by temperature, while molality is preferred in chemical calculations as its value remains unaffected with temperature. Now, in some cases, to find out mass of certain compound, volume of a compound, and mass of the second compound and volume of the second compound, we can use this formula. That is M1 V1 is equals to M2 V2. This is also known as formula for dilution. Suppose I was having a solution of molarity 1. So that is 1 molar solution and its volume was 1 liter. Now in this 1 liter solution, I added 2 liters of water. So what will be the new molarity of the solution? That can be calculated by this formula very easily. Suppose we have M1 as 1 molar, V1 as 1 liter, initial 1 molar solution, volume 1 liter. After that, M2, that is unknown to us, and V2, volume. So initially it was 1 liter, but now we added 2 liters of water into it. So that means 2 plus 1, 3 liters. So you can have this formula M1 V1 is equals to M2 V2. Substitute all the values and we can have our second molarity, that is M2 can be calculated as M2 is equals to M1 V1 upon V2. So it will be 1 by 3. There is another formula to calculate molarity of a solution with respect to density and percentage mass. This relationship is very important for numericals. And formula is M, that is molarity is equals to percentage mass, and your percentage mass should be weight by weight into density into 10 whole divided by mass, where this mass represents molecular mass. Okay. So this formula is useful for numericals and can be directly applied instead of going around for calculation of molality and then molarity. That's all with respect to the units of different concentration. Excel on this part, please try to learn some atomic weights as well as molecular masses of compounds which we come across daily. For this, you can refer your NCERT textbooks. So that's all. Thank you everyone.